Okay, we have a motion by Rick Collins. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Amy Prosser. All those in favor of approving the minutes for March 12th, 2025, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, moving right along here to additionals. We have no additionals, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, that doesn't happen very often.
Nope.
So, and transfers, we have one transfer. This is from the Public Defender. The fund name is supplemental, fund number 1200. The amount to be transferred is $3,512.50. And it is from the account number H4410, which is furniture and fixtures, to account number 32840, which is the accountant fees, account title, for the amount of $3,512.50. Why is this transfer needed? It is to pay final consultant invoice from the Sands case number 17001. I think that, is that 17-0 or 17D?
Probably D.
Okay, 17D01-2303-MR-001. Will additional appropriations be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. Was it discussed with the liaison? And the answer to that is no. Okay, we have before us a transfer for $3,512.50. Again, it's the final invoice from the Sands case. Any discussion from the council?
Who's the liaison there?
I am,
Yeah.
and I was not contacted.
Yeah.
So, any further questions? Do we have a motion to approve? Have a motion by Rick Ring. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Bill Van Wy. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving the transfer request of $3,512.50 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer is granted. You also have a list of the non-approval transfers.
Brian did come because we thought there might be one of the non-communications asking.
Okay, any questions for Brian on a non-approval transfer? Thanks for coming, Brian. That was quick.
Thanks, Brian.
Randy Fox is not here yet. We can't start the hearing yet. Do we want to talk about the tax abatement now? Do we want to move that up?
Yep,
Do we
that's
have
fine.
people coming in, Rick, for that or not?
Well, Carnahan is here,
Okay.
and Anton's not going to be able to make it. He just
Okay.
let me know.
So, Rick, I'll turn this over to you.
We met with Carnahan's last week on the farm in the northern all expansion parlor. The real property value is $200,448. The personal property is thank you, $1,999,552. And the Tax Abatement Committee has recommended approval of this tax abatement. And I don't have before me the number of years that we said.
For the
real property was a very, very
Was 1
limited-
year.
1 year.
And the personal property was 3 years.
So the committee is recommending the tax abatements in those amounts, and would ask that we have the council attorney prepare the documentation to declare the area in need of economic revitalization.
Okay, so we need a motion to declare the area
We do that first.
in economic revitalization.
And then we'll do that, then we'll have that next meeting.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the area in need of economic revitalization?
And I will make that motion.
And, okay, Rick has made the motion. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
Okay, Bill Van Wy. Any further discussion from the council at this time?
We focus mostly on the larger two, the 200,000, the real property, I don't think is a real, I think that's a real issue. There was a lot of miscommunication between the county and the Carnahans as to how this process should proceed. So no, the unfortunate thing is that Anton wasn't contacted. He was, and this is a point that, and it was no fault of Anton's at all, but the Carnahans, on the advice of a former commissioner, did apply for the tax abatement, but then they went to their accountant to prepare everything. And the accountant delayed and delayed and delayed, and nobody ever called Anton or Susan or anybody else. And then that was a main part of our conversation there. But, so that's why we're, yeah. Not the other. And the other, like I said, the real property is such a small amount. It's the actual equipment that's the major portion of it.
And another thing too, you have to remember that this is something new for the farmers. This has only been 3 years or 4 years, and, we're not like SDI or any of the big companies. They know what they're aiming for and everything. So there's going to be some miscommunications and everything. And it's just something that we have to get it out there more. And if there's someone who wants to expand or something, to take advantage of it. But as far as some of this stuff, we're going to make some mistakes.
The other piece of that is that they also were under the understanding it was taking some time for FDA to approve certain things because it's from out of the country. And so they were under the understanding that until they got that approval, they couldn't.
This system is different than the one that Brands put in that, Jason, you want to explain a little bit what the difference is? But you and your dad were telling us at the meeting, but.
I mean, it's the same concept as Brands. Do I have to state my name and address?
No, we know who you are.
It's the same concept as Brands, it's just a different brand. And there was some prototypes in the U.S. that they put in 8-10 years ago. But these are the first, new production of this brand in the U.S. So there was a lot of hoops to jump through as far as they build them in the Netherlands. And they have a stamped EU version, but the FDA is a lot different. So they had to change multiple times. Things had to be changed and updated and whatever before they even built them and shipped them. And then once they got here, more things have to be changed, and it's just additional valving and that kind of stuff. But I mean, the concept is the same as Brands, and like Haynes is in it, and other parts of the county.
Thanks, Jason.
Jason, when do you think you'll be up and operating with it?
We're hoping to be done by Ag Day, but not for sure. And that's the 9th, it's 6th of May. But I know there's deadlines for this and whatever, but that's when we're aiming to be.
Yeah, you're close then.
To be with it done enough to test, look at, show off, that kind of thing for all the.
Because you have the school groups coming, right? You
We have
will
all
be
the-
able to demonstrate, won't actually go into production Right. But they'll be able to demonstrate to the school groups that are coming out. Carnahan Farms has always done a lot of public education. I know when, with EMS, we did a lot of training at the Carnahan Farms. They've just always been very involved, so they don't want to deny those kids.
Yeah, because we told them all last year that we'd have them done by this year, but with all our delays, we weren't as far along as we hoped we'd be, so.
Any further questions for Mr. Carnahan?
One quick comment on top of his. When we had ours put in, it was the deal where the EU and, our government has different codes on washing and stuff like that. I understand where he's coming from. And that's one reason why Lele came in and started building their machines in Iowa so that they didn't have to deal with all the inspections.
I know I'm probably simplifying this more than it should be, but if I understood right, the FDA in the United States requires some type of a certification or at each point in the process where the EU does not do that. They just certify the whole process.
Pretty much. I mean, they're around the world, the valving is a lot more simplified. Because like in a lot of places, like if you have a pipe that goes this way or this way, they can put one valve in. In the U.S., you have to have 4. Because they don't want any chance of product and wash solutions ever getting together. You have to have a valve each way and a drain port in the middle, and I'm sure Bill remembers all that fun stuff.
I want to get all that. The day that we stalled it, we had 4 inspections, 4 milk inspectors from the state of Indiana, the FDA, and the local, because we were the 3rd one that had put robots in the state of Indiana.
Most of them are government, like passive government programs that all we have to do is sign our name, and they're from the national level. A couple of the programs that we are in, we plant like cover crops in the fall, so we get paid a little bit to do that from the NRCS as like Clean Water Acts and that kind of stuff. Have some money that goes towards that. So we'll just get reimbursed like a portion of the cost of planting cover crops, and same way with like grass strips along ditches and near open drains and that kind of stuff. You can get a little bit. You can get a little bit for that if you apply.
So is that loans? What you just said,
I mean, those are direct payments, but like I said, they're just portions of, like if it costs me, say $50 an acre to plant cover crops, they pay like 12 or something like that. And it's not like a money-making thing. It's like more of like a reimbursement on some of that stuff for participating in programs that they see valuable. Yep.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to declare the area of the Carnahan Farms up for abatement, in need of economic revitalization. I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried 6-1. So now. 5-1, I'm sorry. Now, Rick, on this one, we will not go ahead with the abatement until the next meeting.
We declare it and then...
We'll have the preliminary declaration next meeting and then the following meeting will be public hearing and the final.
Okay, so right now we're done. We've
Yep.
declared the area. Okay, that's fine. So thank you. Randy Fox.
Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
going to second what Rick said. I spent a lot of time at Carnahan Farms over the years with EMS and all the training and opportunities they brought us. And I even took my 2.5-year-old out because he wanted to see the cows once. And Ken, his father, put 2 fingers out, and the little calf sucked on his fingers for a minute. So Tyler stuck his hand through the fence and it went right up to his elbow. Interesting story. For the airport, this is probably one of the shortest reports I've ever brought. The icing issue that we've discussed, we're hoping that there's going to be some savings in purchasing materials when they're not prime and trying to stock ahead sometime to get the icing equipment and materials available to and stored on site. We have room since the museum moved out. That's now the service building. We have a hot end and a cold end. So the cold end where the trucks and stuff can set and we can store materials. The hot end is where the guys do the work and can maintain the vehicles and keep everything up to snuff. So we're going to have space to store it. There is intention to do that. We are proceeding with the rebranding, this little logo that I wear once a month to here. Never really wear it anywhere else. Will change at some point. The DeKalb Auburn Executive Airport, however that name ends up being, isn't appropriate with this logo, so we're going to find something new. So we've got the Crown Jewel Advertising has been working with the board on coming up with new logos, new advertising materials, videos that we can put on the internet and things that would help us, promote this because, again, it's going to be the preeminent airport in the region, if not the state, after next summer, assuming that we can afford to finish the overlay on the last 5,000 feet of the runway. The taxiway process is underway now. So we expect that to finish up this year, so airplanes will be able to taxi the entire length of the runway. Instead of the last 2,000 feet, if you're going east, you've got to taxi out onto the runway and then go 2,000 feet to the east on what's an active runway, instead of taxiing down and letting other planes go and land and take off. And if you're interested, Sweet Aviation, our FBO, from April to October holds a fly-in and free lunch on the 3rd Friday of the month, which coincides with our board meeting. And so you're welcome to come out and take a look around the facility, have a free lunch, attend the board meeting if you'd like, and we'd welcome all of your attendance. On the other side, our activity is still a little lower than we would expect. We had, again, some weather and some construction issues from time to time, but we're going to anticipate this is going to improve dramatically as the weather and all of the other issues associated with flying diminish for the summer. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Anybody got any questions for Randy? Hearing none, thank you for your report, Randy.
If I can put one more bug in people's ears.
Sure.
July 1st of this year will be 50 years since the DeKalb EMS went on the street.
50 years, wow.
So somebody may have put a bug in somebody's ear about that, and we'll see if that comes to fruition.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate it. Okay, we've got a little bit of time. Let's skip ahead to the St. Joe Spencerville Regional Sewer District appointment. You have a letter in your packet. I'm going to just go ahead and read it. Dated March 27, 2025, DeKalb County Council, 100 South Main Street, County Courthouse, second floor, Auburn, Indiana, 46706, to whom it may concern. Per our resolution 1-2005, your board is responsible for appointing one board member for the St. Joe Spencerville Regional Sewer District. Our recommendation for this appointment is Don Martin. If you approve this recommendation, please sign below and return in the self-stamped crest envelope that we've enclosed. If there are any questions, please contact this office on the above telephone number. Thank you for your prompt attention concerning this matter. Sincerely, Vicki Riley, Clerk. And as a note, it says Don Martin is appointed to serve as a trustee for the St. Joe Spencerville Regional District, term from May 1, 2025 through December 31st of 2028.
Who is our current appointment to the board?
Jim Dwyer?
Jim, you said?
Jim.
Jim Dwyer.
Arden's
Yeah.
widower.
Spencerville.
Unfortunately, I don't know this gentleman. And I know that there is a big issue down there. Many improvements are needed, and they've not, they're trying, but they've not done any planning to take care of some of these maintenance issues that have to occur. Apparently this gentleman was at the commissioners meeting last week.
Was that last week? Kellen, do you remember? Or 2 weeks ago? Yeah, the last.
And hopefully this is a person who is, I assume that he's one of the people that has the St. Joe sewer, number one, but hopefully it's somebody that's got some, wants to take some forethought and get some planning done to get these improvements made, because if improvements are not made to that sewer system, from my understanding, they're going to have to just start pumping it. They aren't going to be able to treat it and move it anywhere else. And this situation seems to just be cascading into something larger. And while we do have an appointment, and I'm assuming that the commissioners have an appointment, it's not the commissioner's fault or our fault that the sewer system's in the condition that it's in. That's what this board is for. So.
Does either one of you two know who he is? You, Amy? Rick?
Don't know. Ellen, do you know anything about him?
Didn't see
Just
it.
Not to put you on the spot, just,
If it's the gentleman I'm thinking of, I've met him a few times. He is very adamant about what's going on with the process. I believe the board would like to have him on that spot to help get us some new, fresh ideas, but that's all I really know about the situation. I don't know.
We
a whole
don't
lot.
know what he does for employment or.
I've only talked to him the 2 times. I think I talked to him at the meetings down there, at the board meetings, and then the one time he came to us.
He has been attending the board meeting.
He's attended at least 2 of the ones that I've been to, yes.
What's the council's pleasure? Do we want to put a hold on this, have them come in, get more information, or do we want to go ahead and move on it now?
I would not want to vote on a candidate that I don't know. So I'm not saying he's not a great guy and not a good, but I would not want to vote yes on someone I don't know.
How does the rest of the council feel on this?
One of the things that they have approached the commissioners, I believe, in getting additional funding. So I believe that our responsibility is to make sure that, at least in our appointments, that it's somebody who is competent and capable of doing the job, because if this system fails, we seem to be the one that they're going to come back to and ask for funding. So,
Kellen, you meet next, you can stay seated. You meet next Monday, right? Is this something you would want to invite him in and find out a little more information and then pass on to the council what you've discovered?
probably just,
Yeah.
why don't we just ask this the
Vicky.
clerk, this Vicky, to give us a bio of the guy.
Okay.
Sure. And
I will,
a phone number, because we can
I will,
call and talk to him.
I will contact her.
So we'll table this until next meeting then.
It is their, I mean, they are,
Is there any kind of time frame that they're, like, is there a deadline or something that they need an appointment by, that if we wait, that that's going to interrupt that?
I don't have any.
Well, it says that the term would start May 1. So
Okay. essentially,
they would be without a board member for, when's our May meeting?
Where do you see May 1 at, Rick, other than at the bottom, which is for his
At the
trustee?
bottom of the letter, it says
That's-
term from May 1, 2025 through
31st.
December 31,
Okay.
2028.
That sounds like someone resigned in the
May
middle of a
14th.
term.
Yeah, no, Jim's fairly old now. So,
I mean, their board's recommending this person, so, I mean, I do have a little bit of faith in that. If they're the local people there want to have that person.
And to that very point, we do accept the recommendation of many boards that we
Yes.
appoint to. I mean, that is
I
true.
don't know them all, and I doubt any of us know every person that we appoint to every board, so I think there's that
And
piece
if you
too.
don't know them, the best you can hope for is maybe a phone call.
Correct,
So.
correct.
So,
When does that board meet?
Phone numbers to get a hold of.
When does that board meet?
I will seek clarification from the
First
clerk,
something.
and we'll go from there.
Caroline, do you know when they meet? Is it like the first week of the month, second week of the month? Do you recall? Okay.
I guess the other question is, if we say no,
But is somebody quit?
are we supposed to recommend someone, or are they just supposed to go find somebody else? Like, what if we say, no, we don't want that person? And then,
I don't think at this moment anybody's suggesting say no. We're just saying table until we just know a little bit of information.
but if we table it and then we say no, then what?
You have to find, technically, you're the one that's supposed to find the person.
Okay,
They're just helping you.
got it. That's the missing piece that I needed.
And
Okay.
you gotta look at it this way, if he's willing to go on the board with the mess over there, you know, he may not be all that bad of a person, because,
And I don't know that he's, I'm not saying.
I'm not
that-
saying he's a bad person, but, I mean, if he's willing to challenge us, I just wanna know how,
I don't think they're lining up to serve on
that's what I'm thinking too.
you're right, Don.
That's real.
that. I think you might be hard pressed to find anybody else.
So I'm hearing conflicting sides here. So do we want to have consensus that we find out more information and table this to the next meeting?
See, our next meeting's May 7th or May 14th, so that's late in the month.
It would be no different if somebody was on there tomorrow, they happen to resign.
Yeah.
You guys can't do anything until your next meeting. No different. So
I would
I
suggest that we wait
suggest,
till we get
yeah,
more.
I think you
information.
need some more information.
And well, Mr. Martin, he can certainly attend the meeting. He certainly can have input. He just wouldn't be a non-voting member. So we're not delaying his involvement. And again, it's not a question of his character at all. Might be an outstanding person. I just,
Okay, do we have
do it
consensus then from
informed.
the council to table this till the next meeting until we hear more information? Rick?
I'm good.
Amy? Okay, we have consensus. We'll table this till the next meeting, and we'll wait and hear from Mr. Martin then, so. Okay, moving on, 9 o'clock, we have a public hearing. So I'm going to suspend the council meeting, and we're going to open the public hearing. And this is for the reestablishment of the cumulative capital development fund. And, pardon me, it's for the reestablishment of the cumulative capital development fund under provisions of Indiana Code 36-9-14.5 for all uses set out in Indiana Code 36-9-14.5. The tax will be levied on all taxable real and personal property within the taxing district, and it will not exceed 0.0333 per $100 of assessed valuation. The proposed fund will be levied beginning with the taxes due and payable in the year 2026. And just for comparison, the current tax rate is will be 0.0307 is currently, and it would go from 0.0307 to 0.0333. Is there anybody from the public that would like to testify, questions for or against? Is there anybody from the public that would like to testify for or against this proposed capital development fund reestablishment? Again, is there anyone from the public that would like to testify for or against the proposed tax increase here for the capital development fund? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and reconvene the council meeting. First of all, do we have a motion to approve this tax increase from 0.0307, which is the current tax rate, to 0.0333?
Okay, so that would be the ordinance that you guys all have, the ordinance 2025-OCC-2, reestablishing cumulative capital development fund rate. I'm going to read it because I just got it done yesterday. So be it ordained by the County Council of DeKalb County, Indiana, would like to reestablish the tax rate up to the maximum rate allowed for the cumulative capital development fund for the following purposes. For all uses set out in IC 36-9-14.5 and the 0.0142 of assessed valuation that was adopted in the prior ordinance 2016-OCC-7 that shall be allocated to bridge construction, repair, bridge maintenance, and related expenses shall continue. Be it further ordained that this board will adhere to the provisions of Indiana Code 36-9-14.5. The proposed fund will increase from 0.0307 on each $100 of assessed value for taxes payable in 2025 to 0.0333 on each $100 of assessed valuation for taxes payable in 2026 and thereafter, continuing until reduced or rescinded. Be it further ordained that due to the House Enrolled Act 1268-2022 that eliminated the requirement that tax rates for certain cumulative funds be adjusted to reflect increases in assessed value in the unit due to reassessment or annual adjustments, also known as trending. These rates will no longer automatically decrease. Be it further ordained that a copy of this ordinance shall be submitted to the Department of Local Government Finance of the State of Indiana as provided by law. The tax rate for this fund is subject to certification by the Department of Local Government Finance. And there would be 3 readings that would need to be done.
I'll make a motion that we approve this ordinance.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second it when we get to discussion.
Okay, we have a second now. Discussion?
Yeah, Susan, this is the one we talked a little bit about last month, right? And it automatically decreased over, because that's the way it was set up before. They just changed it, so it won't do that now. So we're just putting it back up to where it was probably.
Correct. So we had reestablished it in 2016, and then it trends down. And then in 2022, they changed that. And so I had asked.
Change the law.
They changed the law that the trending would no longer happens. So I had asked, because we had reestablished it, if we had to do something different or if we were able to, it would just go back. And that's not the case. So we have to reestablish it to the max. Now, once it's done, then unless law changes, it will stay and we won't have to do this again.
I would just state to the council that, after, being the liaison to Ben at the Highway Department, we know that our bridges and structures are going to need a lot of work, and we don't have near enough money to do that over the next 20 years. So anything we can do, I know this is a very small amount, but anything we can do to shore up those cum cap funds for bridges.
And it's not just that. That isn't changing. The other part of it is our own cum cap development fund is low. So any little bit is gonna help for any of the capital needs that the county needs, because it's getting down there.
It is very important, though, to reinforce what Bob just said. We made the initial change back in 2016 to cover those bridges. We cannot afford to have the bridges go down and go unrepaired. What we would do, I don't want to constantly go back to the farmers, but if you have to take out a bridge in an area that now causes a farmer to go 5 miles out of his way to get around something, you're going to put a lot of economic loss on those farmers. And others, trucking and our own driving habits would change dramatically if we had to start shutting down bridges and stuff. But we need to keep those up. And Susan's right, we have many other capital needs, but, we've got police cars that we have to buy, we have equipment that's failing, that needs to be replaced, that can't wait, so we do need to keep those funds up and running, but we also have to be very prudent on how we spend it, so it's just not, it's not wasted.
Thank you, Rick. Any other questions before we call for the question?
A question. Is this just for the bridge construction, bridge repair? Is that where it stays?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm sorry, I'm reading a different piece of it here, so.
So in 2016, when the county wanted to increase this to its max rate, the council agreed to do it, and the difference at that time was the 42%.
Gotcha.
So the 42% of whatever we collect at settlement goes into a different fund to be used for Ben's projects on roads, bridges, blah, blah, blah. So that piece of it, that original percentage won't change. The 42% will still come in, everything will come in, and then 42% of now our little bit of an increase revenue will still remain going to his projects.
So what was happening was the tax rate was actually going down.
Automatically.
Automatically, because the state said that will automatically go down. Then the state changed the rule and said, okay, now counties, you have the ability to take that tax rate to the maximum amount. And that's what we're doing here today, is taking that to the maximum amount.
And in 2016, the county took it to the maximum amount as well, because they wanted to be able to have that extra income revenue for the bridges and whatnot. So it's just, in those however many years, from 2016 to now, it's just making it back to where it was.
I guess I'm having a hard time reconciling in my mind that we would come in, vote to give, and this isn't a slight to Carnahan Farm. I think we just continue to give tax abatements, so we're letting people in our community not pay taxes, but then we're asking everyday citizens to pay additional taxes by raising this tax. I agree, it's very minute. Most people won't even notice it. But it's the constant, well, it's just a little bit here and a little bit there. When do we start to also look at how are we doing tax abatements, I guess is my question. So if anybody has a great answer, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I just want to say that we made a commitment in 2016 to the public when the commissioners asked that this rate be increased to cover the bridges. We made a commitment that we would raise it if this portion would go to bridges. So by continuing this, we are continuing with what we promised the public when we raised it initially. As far as tax abatements are concerned, that is, again, we need to encourage our investments in the public, and we have made some adjustments to where we are not giving the excessive periods of time where it would be abated. But So we've reduced that, so I think I am still in support of this. It's just like anything else. I mean, when I file my taxes, I take advantage of all the ability that the IRS has given me to lower my taxes. And if they take away some of those options, then I'll deal with whatever the new rules are. Well, that's what this is happening here. And the farmers, if we're going to, pick on this one, because that's the one that happens to be before us
No,
today.
I'm not doing that today.
The farmers have never had this ability.
I'm absolutely not
And,
picking on farmers. I'm
they're-
asking the
again,
council,
we
why
talked
are we
about
making
this
these
earlier,
choices?
that, the biggest one here is the personal property, which actually the state is trying to do away with that one completely.
And Rick, please do not put words into my mouth. This has nothing to do with the people that are coming here today asking for tax abatements.
I
absolutely
bring that one
understand
up
why they
only
come.
because he happens to be the one here.
No,
today.
and I explicitly said that this has nothing to do with him. It's about the council and our decisions that we're making. I understand that companies want to come in and say, give me every tax break I can get. Absolutely, I would too. However, we're asking them as citizens to pay for those because, as you said this morning, when there's less dollars available, the people that are paying into taxes have to pay more. So the more people we take out of the pool, people that are still in the pool to pay have to pay more. So I just, it's frustrating to me. I feel like we're supposed to be here to protect all of the taxpayers, and I don't feel like this is doing that well. So my vote will be no.
Call for the question.
Yeah.
All those in favor of, Susan,
Yeah.
we're on reestablishing the,
So, yes, the 2025-OCC-2, the only thing different than the paper in front of you is I added the 3 lines that says first, second, and third reading.
so I don't have that with the,
We can only vote on the first reading today, or,
You can do it all, you just suspend the rules.
okay.
okay, we have, okay,
Right.
so we need to vote
Was-
first
Right.
on the initial,
So Rick's first motion was first reading.
okay. We'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving this on the first reading signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Now we need a motion to suspend the rules where we can do this on second and third reading. Do we have a
Can I just
motion?
ask a question? Do we, so there's no more public hearings
No,
that we
public
have to
hearing is
do?
closed.
Okay, perfect, okay.
Okay, do we have a motion to suspend the rules for, where we can do this on second and third reading? Okay, we have a motion by Rick Collins, second by Bob Kraft. Any questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion to suspend the rules has been passed.
You got to ask for nay. It has to be unanimous.
I'm sorry, what now?
Is there any objections? Ask for any objections. You never asked for.
On suspending the rules.
Are there any objections for suspending the rules? Hearing none. Now we will vote on suspending the rules, correct? Okay, thank you. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion is carried. Now we need a motion to approve on second and third reading the reestablishment of the Cume Capital Development Fund rate. Do we have a motion to do so?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Bob Kraft. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Rick Ring. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, it is passed 5-1. Okay, Susan,
Yes.
let's do your annual redevelopment TIF report.
Okay, I had included the IC code and everything. By the 15th of April, I have to submit a report, an annual report for a redevelopment for the prior year, and then we just have to bring it to you guys and show it to you. So I provided you with the information, the 3 TIFs, their revenues, expenditures, like how much of it went to attorneys, bonds, things like that. And then it just gives you like the parcels that are part of each TIF, and that's about it. It's all on Gateway, it gets published on Gateway, and we just have to meet our requirement that we provided it to you guys.
Kristen, I had a question about that. So I think this was at the end of '24, correct? Because I think the redevelopment commission then recently gave a lot of funds to Butler.
Correct.
So those fund amounts will be different than what we're seeing.
Correct. I'm reporting for the prior year.
Perfect.
So I have to do it's their annual report.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So basically, we will be voting on the acceptance of this for you to send in by April 15th.
Well, it's submitted. You're voting on acknowledging that
We did get it.
I provided this to you guys.
Are there any further questions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve that we have received the annual redevelopment TIF report. Do we have a motion? Motion by Rick Collins, second by Bob Kraft. Any further questions from the council? We'll call for the question. All those in favor of acknowledging the receipt of the report signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion is carried. Susan, we have received it.
Thank you.
Okay, now, moving on, we're a little ahead of schedule. I would like to move on to the council discussion, if that's okay with our council members that are here. Pardon? You say something, Rick?
I thought you said councilmen that were here, commissioners that are here.
Commissioners, I'm sorry. So we have Bill and Helen here. Let's do the commissioners' update if we can. Don't fight for the microphone here, so. You have none? Okay, that's fine. I'm going to go back up then to the 2026 budget guidance discussion. I really feel that we as a council need to give all of the office holders as much advanced knowledge and time as we can on the budget that'll be coming here in July. In all the years I've been on the council, I don't think I've ever seen such indecision from the state as what's going on right now. We really have no idea what kind of money we're going to get. Property tax bill is still up in the air. I know they're encouraging everyone to call your state representative on Senate Bill 1 here to be very mindful that all these proposed property tax cuts are really going to hit local communities hard. And what I am proposing, and it's early, but I want to give all office holders as much advanced knowledge as possible where we're going to be at as a council. And what I am recommending, I'm not speaking for the entire council, this is Dave Yard, is that we go with 0% on the budget increases. That means 0% on the raises, and we keep all expenditures the same as last year. Again, that's simply because we don't know what we're going to get. If we get money, we can always add to. But there's a good chance that we may have to take the red pen out at budget hearings and maybe have to go the other way, which we haven't done in a long time. But I've never seen this amount of uncertainty here, and that's why I want to give every office holder and everybody connected with it as much advanced knowledge as we possibly can of what may be coming down the road here. And that's why I'm recommending we go with 0% on the raises and we freeze expenses to last year's line items there. And this is open for discussion.
This is as good a time as any to bring up SB 1. SB 1 was amended on Monday by the House Ways and Means Committee, incorporating all of the provisions of House Bill, I believe it was 1402, it might have been 1401, but they were all amended into the SB 1. And what that does is it doesn't change a lot of the property tax issues that were brought up through the Senate, because amendments were already made there, reducing the draconian cuts that were made by the Senate initially, in the initial bill. Those were already reduced, but now we've amended in all of 1401, I believe it is. It is going to be heard today on second reading and is open for amendments at 1:30 at the full House session. Quite a bit of the things that were amended in on Monday have to do with local option income tax. It is the desire of Jeff Thompson, who is the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, and it has been his desire for a number of years, and it would have been demonstrated through this last year's summer study, to move a lot of things from property tax to local option income tax. So that has been amended in there, and in doing that, he's separating away the county local option income tax from municipals' local option income tax. Right now, public safety is the perfect example. When we passed the public safety local option income tax, we did it because we needed a certain amount of money for operation of central communications. But in order to get that amount of money that we needed, we had to raise the tax higher than we wanted to, because whatever we collected had to be shared with cities and towns. The proposals that are in now are going to remove that. County will have the ability to pass a local option income tax for their needs with a certain percentage max. Cities and towns of a population of 3,500 or more will have an option to pass a local option income tax for their needs, totally separate. So we don't have to raise ours higher than is necessary to get the amount of money that we need. Taking a look at that, the only two cities in DeKalb County that would qualify as 3,500 or more are going to be Auburn and Garrett. There's another provision within this bill that would allow us to pass a local option income tax on the entire county with the intention of giving the money raised to those cities and towns that are less than 3,500. So I have a philosophical problem with that, because we'd be passing it on everybody to fund other areas. Another piece of the local option income tax, and again, this one would be for the cities, I believe it's 0.4% to raise money for fire and EMS. We could pass that, and then the money would be distributed to the different fire territories and fire departments based on a formula that's within the law right now, within SB 1. Many of the things that would be decided through local option income tax are going to be decided by the county councils. Now, that's not going to change what we do in DeKalb County very much, because we've always had that ability. But there are 36 counties in the state that have what is considered to be a COIT county, or a tax council, where the amount of your vote is based on the population of your city or your town. So if you take Allen County, there would be a vote for a local option income tax down there. They would have, the city of Fort Wayne might have 75% of the vote, and the other votes would be divided up among the county and the other cities in there. And that's let's see, Henry County, Kosciuszko County, Allen County are all that type of a tax council. This SB 1 eliminates those tax councils. Again, doesn't affect us because we're already county councils in charge of that. But the other issue within SB 1, and we talked a little bit about this before the meeting, is they're going to increase the exemption of personal property tax. Currently, it's at 80,000. The first 80,000 is exempt. They're going to move that up to 115,000, eventually going to 150,000 exempt. But there's also a provision eliminating or reducing the amount of personal property that can be put on the tax base in any one given year by percentage, with the intention of eliminating in the future the personal property being on the tax rolls at all. So the problem with that is, and this would affect DeKalb County in a big way, the problem with that is that money is still necessary, that's still needed, and by eliminating the personal property as a tax base, that pushes that dollar amount to be raised to all the other taxpayers. The same thing that happens when they exempt people over 65 or they exempt veterans. That money is still required, but now rather than those people paying it, it goes over to everyone else. So that's what we're up against right now, and making sure that we get our voice heard in the House today is going to be very important. Now, I know that Ben Smaltz has already got 4 amendments ready to address this. We'll see how far those go today, but those 4 amendments are ready to keep personal property in the budget system.
How restrictive is that percentage that you talked about on the personal property that can be in 1 year? Because in our county, with some of the big, huge industry that we have, sometimes they buy a new furnace or a new big piece of equipment that might be 50 million or 100, a lot of money that results in personal property tax. Will those?
They'll only be able to put a certain percentage, and I don't have those percentages before me right now, but they'll only be able to put a certain amount, a certain percentage of the dollar amount in. The next year, that percentage is going to be lowered. The following year, it'll be lowered until they eventually get to 0. That is the big concern. We have, at one time, when they were talking about this a couple of years ago, we had determined that there was about 33% of our budget came from business personal property. Now it's down to about 27 or 28%. It's still a big chunk, but there are counties, there are school systems in the state that there's one in central Indiana that school system depends on about 60 to 75% of their budget comes from personal property. Wow. You'll eliminate that and you'll wipe them out. They're gone. So Dave is very correct in that everything is up in the air. You don't know where it's going. And we won't know because the consensus is that all of this was amended in on Monday. If the House passes it on 3rd reading, and 3rd reading probably won't happen until maybe next week, but if it passes on 3rd reading and it goes back to the Senate for their concurrence with the changes the House made, that the Senate won't make any changes. They'll just accept whatever the House does. Now, that's probably the worst case scenario. Maybe somebody will try to object and try to make some changes and force it into conference committee. But again, everything's up in the air. We don't know what's going to happen.
And the bottom line is the governor has the power yet.
But, and this example was given in one of the meetings I was in, the governor has threatened to veto the budget and the property tax bill if it doesn't achieve the savings that he wants. What he could do is he could veto it. He could send it back to the legislature and the governor's threatened to call a special session. That happened to Governor Bai one year. Governor Bai objected to the budget that was passed. He vetoed the budget, and he called a special session, and the legislature came back and within 10 minutes overrode his veto and left, because the Indiana governor is a weak governorship. They can be overridden by 50% plus one. So it's not like the national government or other states where you've got to have 3/4 to override the governor's veto. The governor can be overridden fairly easily. So,
Okay, Rick gave us a very detailed explanation, thank you, Rick, on this here. It's far from over, and we all are aware that if you reduce a tax here, you're going to have to pick it up somewhere else. It's just a shift, it's a shell game. You don't get rid of a tax and not pick up that revenue somewhere else there. I'll wait till Rick Collins comes back.
there is one other provision I did forget about, because this is something else that a number of people want changed. Jeff Thompson is very big on sunsets. So any local option income tax that any county would pass would have to be reauthorized every year. And while I'm not opposed to sunsets, all you have to do is slip up once, miss the deadline, and you could wipe out your budget for the following year if that tax was not reauthorized in a timely manner.
But it's nice to see that option come back to the county, so.
Yeah, it
instead
does.
of a
and
state mandate.
It is, this bill puts a lot of weight on the county council as being a very important part of the
If it goes through as
if
such.
it goes through as it is very important provision.
Now, Don, question for you. Since if somebody wants to make a motion about 0% interest in basically keeping everything flatlined on last year's budget, can that be done by consensus, that recommendation to the office holders, or does it?
Recommendation, so it can be done any way you want it to. That decision.
Okay.
Anyone, so they can come back with whatever they want, but
So we'll wait till,
Why don't we go ahead and take
okay,
a break and get it done?
let's, we'll be in recess here. Lita, you have something to present? Do you need anything, Lita, from the council?
I just wanted to show you so that, that I'll never see that happen. But I'd like to get all the D-books done. Ask me what books I was hopefully will see. Recorder's office will be buffed, trying to get done with all of these. But, I think it's.
A lot of historical properties have
Besides, what I was saying,
but they're waterproof.
the water, so the flood don't get to
That's
it.
right. Thank you, Leah.
Thanks, Lita.
Project. Okay, Kellen, you have something you'd like to add here? The commissioners?
From the, not so much the commissioners, more from the committee for Sunny Meadows. So I put in front of you is Lakeland's Electronics. It is for security cameras. I know it's kind of a late minute here. I'm in work attire right now, actually. I got it this morning. I wanted to get in front of you guys to have a conversation. As you can see, it's pretty comprehensive. There's going to be cameras inside and outside the facility. We have some issues with the burn pit behind is getting full of stuff that we don't know where it's coming from. I think people are illegally dumping furniture and stuff out there. We burn it. Angela said that she burns it down. The next thing she knows, there's more stuff out there. So we have 3 cameras. When I talked to Lakeland, I kind of wanted to have just a basic overage coverage. So as you can see, there's 3 cameras on the outside that we would propose. Now, these cameras that I had him do are the exact same cameras that we have throughout the rest of the county. So we can always use them, replace them, or anything like that. It's all the same cameras, okay? Then on the, a lot of pages here. On the second floor, they only have 2 cameras, top of the stairs that look down both hallways. There's one that we're gonna put in the basement that's gonna cover the basement door entry and go down the long hallway. As you can see, we won't have that far west hallway going north, won't have any coverage on it, but I think covering the door there to see if anybody's coming or going through there is what we only need in the basement, really. And then if you go to first floor, we have cameras in the corners of the hallways, so we can see up and down the hallways. Cameras at the bottom of the stairs to see the entrances. In the dining room, kitchen, and the rec area in the back. So I think having a 24/7 facility that we have staffed and residents that we're taking care of, that we have no cameras to see what's going on, what's happened out there, if there's an incident out there of recording or anything like that, seems like just kind of leaves us open. We have cameras at most of all of our other facilities and buildings that for some reason we've never put any cameras out there at Sunny Meadows.
John, as it's going to record, so where is the recording going to reside?
It's going to go to IT. I've talked to Beza. That's where down there at the bottom, it says the 42, 65, and 80 cents. That is for what would need for the recording and storage for 5 years.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
It's been a lot of moving parts here with my spring break, and then the gentleman at Lakeland, he was on spring break, so we were trying to coordinate. They got out there on Monday to look at it. They worked diligently for us to get it for me to present to you today, and I got it this morning. So I really appreciate Lakeland's effort on getting this in front of us so we could take a look at it. The commissioners this is the first time Bill's hearing about it too today. I haven't even got a chance to present it to them or talk to them about it, or even send them the information about it, so.
What did you say? Recording storage is going to IT what?
Yeah, it's down there. The Iron Link 24 channel integrated DVR with PO switch and a 16 terabyte storage.
And
From what I understand, that's what I was told. I haven't got a chance to talk to Beza about that particular and how that works. But he was in contact with, Beza was in contact with Lakeland and Larry. They all have talked in kind of conversation.
And do you have a suggestion as to where these funds should come from?
So I talked to Susan this morning. She said that there's funds within the Sunny Meadow budget for it.
Okay.
So.
There's plenty.
So it's just allocated, or I don't know how you guys would
And
go about
then,
that.
depending on the outcome, these cameras will then be used somewhere else in the county.
If need be, yes. If we need to say, hey, that's too much coverage, we can take that camera, say we don't really need a camera there, it's over redundant, we can take that camera and put it somewhere else if we need to. That's why I wanted to keep the cameras all in the same models and makes. Any questions?
my only question, just because I have a lot of experience with a lot of cameras. We have like 65 of them at the Y. Who's going to review these or look at these when there's issues?
This is the company that Larry recommended that they take care of our cameras now.
No, I mean
Like the recording.
like you think you have something stolen and somebody's got to go dig through and watch the footage.
That's a good question. I don't have an answer for that one.
I vote Kellen.
I mean, I just know that it becomes a tedious task.
It does, but at least we'll have some way to see what's going on out there. I mean, right now we have illegal dumping going on. I know in here, when I was reading through it just a little bit while I was out here in the audience, they have automatic license plate capture, and it will read it and it'll tell you whose license plate that is. So that AI will help at least alleviate that part of the situation. So
It's just something to think about, that somebody's, whether it be personnel at Sunny Meadows or whatever, somebody's.
I just say we say Amy Dembski, she can't deny it now because she's not here. No, I'm just joking. No, that's something we have to kind of figure out what we're going to do on that. Like I said, I got it this morning. I wanted to present it to you guys.
I would think if there is issues that we are trying to find, that it would be somebody outside of Sunny Meadows that needs to be reviewing them.
Oh, somebody dumping, I mean, that's,
That would be more,
Well,
that would be a
you
police,
can have-
police issue.
You're going to
If you're
make
legally
a
dumping,
police
yeah.
report, and they're going to want to see them, but the recordings are going to be here in the courthouse with basis, so it's not like anybody would have access to
Yeah.
it. It
Right.
would be restricted.
So I haven't got a chance to talk to him this morning, but Larry says probably in a couple of weeks, once it gets, we have to still get it approved and talk to the commissioners and see if they're going to approve it too. I just wanted to bring it to you guys because of the timing with you guys not having another meeting for another month. So, but they said maybe a week or two is what Larry believes. I've not talked to Lakeland myself since I got it this morning.
So if the commissioners decide to go ahead and go forward with this, there won't be an additional appropriation that you guys will see. The only thing you'll see is a transfer from me moving money to the correct account to pay for it.
Does the 21,980 include the DVR, is that?
Nope, that's separate. So it's going to be the 2198.80 plus the 4,265.80. So that'll be the total.
I know we typically, a lot of times want a couple of quotes, but having had experience in this exact same realm recently at the Y, this is right in the ballpark. I mean, we're not, I can tell you that those numbers are right in the ballpark of what I just paid.
Well, and this is the systems that our IT already
Yeah, so we kind of have to
uses,
stay
so
with.
we kinda- yeah,
We really need to stay with that same.
can't really,
Because it gets very proprietary if you don't, and then things don't work with the other
Right.
system. And but I mean, I can vouch for the fact that that's not a bad price.
And I do apologize not getting it to you guys in front of you earlier, but I literally got it this morning, so.
Good, thank you. Quick question on security, and you may not be able to answer this one. Do we have a list of people that can view tapes and stuff like that for security purposes? So it's,
not that I am aware of.
is that something we need to establish, Don?
Should be a commissioner's issue.
What's that?
That'd be up to the
Commissioners.
Okay. Just so
Is there a
it didn't fall into the wrong hands, or,
Is there a
Good question. We can-
confidentiality issue?
Yeah, we can look into that and see we can discuss that and see who gets to have access to, and we already have security cameras elsewhere, so maybe we have it, I just don't know it off the top of my head right now.
Right.
Your guys' procedure at the Y, Bob.
Well,
Don't send minors and-
you'll get requests from public, you'll get requests from maybe guardians of people that are out there, and you got to have a policy.
In place, yeah.
We have a policy in place where nobody, we can give it to the police, and that's upon the police's request, and that's it. We don't give it to the public, we don't give it to.
I'll work on it this week, and I'll have something for commissioner meeting on Mondays before we get these installed, that way we have a policy.
I mean, for the privacy of the
And
individuals.
maybe the prosecutor might be able to tell you that. He's right
He's
behind you.
here, he can come up with the mic and answer it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have Andrew look into it.
But I'd have a policy so that
Yeah,
you
that way
don't
there's
get
no
into a
confusion.
situation where everybody's asking for, well, I want to see what happened, so-and-so got in a fight, I want to know what happened.
So today I'm asking for a motion to see if you guys would be willing to approve this transfer. Then I'll take it to the commissioners and see if they want to approve the contract. I know it's kind of,
So
this kind of comes backwards, right? Or I'm not sure how normally.
you can get a feeling of the council, and then you guys will do what you need to do, and then the official paperwork transfer will come next month.
we
But
can give him a consensus to proceed,
Okay.
but we can't give you a vote on it.
That's fine.
Right.
I just,
So, let's just, council, do we have a consensus for the commissioners to proceed on this? See lots of heads nodding, okay.
I'm actually going to vote yes on something today. So,
okay.
Yes.
So there you go. So,
yes.
the consensus is,
Mike was off.
I appreciate that, Amy. So, okay, so I'll bring it to the commissioners on Monday, and then you'll probably, depending how that conversation goes, I know there's some questions about maybe moving some of the cameras, maybe not having so many cameras, but we'll have that ironed out on Monday. So I appreciate your time, thank you.
Sounds good, thank you. Okay, we're gonna, Neil, is Mark coming also? Okay, well, we're gonna back up here then, because we need to come up with a vote or a consensus here, backing up here for office holders, that we're recommending 0% raises and keep the budget lines flat because of the uncertainty from state funding here. We can do this with consensus. Susan, you got something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you remember, pretty much the last 2 years, the departments haven't really changed their operating budgets except for whatever, the flat 2% or whatever that was suggested. But they have done the majority of the increases in the wages. So going with the 0% and keeping them flatlined, the departments would still have the ability in the operating part, well, anywhere, to, like, maybe they want a different account number, but they would still have the same dollar amount from where they were moving it, so they wouldn't change. What that would do for you guys and for us is when we're doing that budget work, when we know whether there's going to be a percent that we can do or we can't do, it's going to be simpler to say, okay, if we do this percent from here, we're going to get this amount. Versus if the departments submit what they believe everybody should get paid or something like that, then we're going to have to take all of the overages out of what they've requested to get you to where you're wanting to see. So that's the easier way to do it with so many uncertainties.
The wages, though, are a decision by the council.
Correct.
So I think that it should be just 0. The council, I don't think that the council would deny raises unless it's absolutely have to because we don't have the money. But what I am concerned about is on the other expenses and the supplies. I don't want them to have to give fictitious numbers if they know that a particular contract is going to increase or, because we know everybody's rates are going to go up by inflation, but, so I want them to be honest about it, but I also want them to know that if they can, if X goes up by $100, that they see if they can't find someplace else to take it away from, so that it
And they
just
can
moves it
still
around.
provide that information, and even where they remote enter, they have the notes field for every single one, so
The more
if their
information we get, the better.
contract did go up, they could
why I wanna get
be able to
to
let us
the
know.
And there'll be some departments that would be very difficult, like IT. I mean, they have software contracts that, this is gonna be $20,000 more this year for Microsoft. You don't have a choice. We gotta have, all the computers have to have that license.
Right.
Remember, we're all working for the same thing we had this morning, no additions.
Yep.
So, you want to make a motion to that, Rick, so we can maybe spell this out a little better, or you think consensus can do it?
I think consensus should do
Yeah.
it, that this is what the council's expecting. And I haven't heard any
It's
objections
nothing
to
different
that.
than we did last year when we said recommend it 4%, and some choose to follow that, and some choose to put a different number in there because,
Well, but this time we're going to look at 0.
yeah, and they'll choose
So
to
it
put
will
different numbers in their
simplify
budget.
in that
Yeah.
respect. Do we have consensus from everybody? Okay.
Yeah.
Susan, can you put a memo out to the department heads?
Yes, we do
Looking
that.
them-
We do that every year. Jody gives direction on what they are expected from council, dates they need to have stuff to us, and yeah, that happens
So
every
I
year.
think we're about a month early on doing this, just to give them enough advance notice or whatever.
Kind of, but not really. We start this, every April is when we get the guidance from you guys and we start it, because with vacations and things between their departments and our departments, to get it all pulled together for you guys takes a long time.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have Neil and Mark.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Did everybody get the letter with the attachments that was sent out hopefully last week? I was on vacation, so I asked the staff to send that. So to give you the background, which was somewhat included in the letter, the amount of digital evidence we receive in our office has exploded exponentially with the use of body cam. Most departments, I think all departments now in the county, use some form of body cam. There's two main players in that field. You have Motorola, which uses WatchGuard. You have Axon, which is basically their own entity. Axon's a pretty large corporation based in Arizona, used by several law enforcement agencies locally. State police use it. Auburn just switched over from Motorola to Axon, I think at a cost of about $500,000 this year. So basically what our issue currently is one, storage. That's kind of the most immediate issue we have. We currently have a 35 terabyte server that we store everything on in terms of how we store the evidence. And essentially what I mean by evidence is largely it's the body cam and the dash cam, and it could be videos from Walmart or surveillance or wherever else, the YMCA. We've had a couple of those, unfortunately. So the other interesting part about Axon that I'll get into a little bit is we have a lot of different formats for the videos as well, which this solves also. But currently, of the 35 terabytes, about 30 of that is filled. And we have certain retention rates where we have to keep evidence for certain periods of time. Obviously, less serious crimes are shorter periods than more serious, up to the level 1, and murder cases could be indefinitely. And unfortunately, those cases also tend to be the ones that take up the most amount of data. So, for instance, in the Terry Sands case, we had over 1 terabyte of data for one case. And so at the rate we're tracking now, I should say too, the better the resolution on these videos, the more data it takes. And so I looked at the numbers, and if you're talking standard definition time in terms of hours of video that fit in a large size server, we're talking 35,000 hours of video. But as the definition on these videos gets better, high definition, you get to about 19,000 hours. If we go to 4K, which I don't think we're there yet, it goes down to like 7,000 hours. So depending upon the resolution of videos, depends on how much storage space we have. My projection, based upon the last couple of years in terms of video and evidence storage, will run out by the end of the year. So we need something done in terms of storage capacity. Since I took over a couple of years ago, we've been looking at solutions for this problem, and I've largely been waiting on the Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council to come up with a statewide solution, which they have been working on, but that apparently not progressing as fast as everybody would like. They've come up with some solutions in terms of cold storage, putting things basically in a big server and not having access immediately to those, which aren't ideal. So the immediate need is, really the question for me is, are we going to have to buy a new server? Besa was kind enough to give me a quote on what we would need. That quote came back shockingly high, I guess for me. It was about $70,000 for this new server. And that didn't include the operating system software, which would be an annual fee. I think it was about $1,600 a year. That's no labor, it doesn't give us anything else other than just storage capacity. So a couple of years ago also, we looked at Axon to determine whether this was something that made sense. And obviously, we think it's not only the storage issue, but in terms of functionality, time saving for our attorneys and staff, that part of it is equally beneficial to us in terms of the time saving, the efficiency, and the tools that come along with Axon. But when I looked at it in the price tag, I thought that's just too much at this point, too expensive. But 2 years later, on the precipice of having to make either a big purchase with a hardware system in the server or move to Axon, it makes more sense financially. So basically what I have for you is kind of a presentation of what Axon does, to give you kind of more of a background too on the time-saving aspect. So essentially the process from the body cam footage, dash cam footage, Walmart surveillance, whatever it is, police collect that evidence. It's downloaded to their server. In Auburn or state police now, that goes directly to the cloud and access. For WatchGuard, it goes to the cloud that's based out of Motorola. And so we take it then from that location and download it physically to a hard copy on our server. We then have to then review all of that and then transfer that data to, most of the time, the public defender's office, could be private attorneys. And the amount of time it takes to take that evidence from the police to us is extraordinary. We have basically 3 people who are assigned to that intake process. One typical, say, OWI stop will take hours to download from the cloud to our server. If we move to an Axon system, it's there, it's accessible, it's seconds. We're talking huge amounts of time saving for us. And then obviously when we transfer that, depending upon who that is, we do have kind of an informal setup with some local attorneys where we pass portable hard drives back and forth, which speeds up the process a little bit. But if not, we have to either copy that to DVDs to mail out to private attorneys, which takes a tremendous amount of time, or transfer it to the public defender server. And largely, the issues we run into are, one, videos can become corrupted in that process. We have to redo it. They're zipped, filed. So when they're transferred, they're compressed. When they have to view them, it takes them similar amount of time to uncompress those videos, to download those. So the amount of time we're spending on simply waiting for data to transfer is hours upon hours. Some of these we just have to say, okay, this is too big for us to handle today. We're going to let it run overnight, do it overnight. We have our staff person in charge of discovery has 3 separate computers now so that they can be working independently while she's doing work on her other computer. And our investigator has 3 computers also. So it's a matter of it just taking so much time and effort to do this. So the real, I guess, presentation today, the tools that come along with Axon, we've seen, I'm sure in the packet, are really nice for us. It would be a tremendous time saving in terms of reviewing the data as well. I can't tell you how much time it would save on transcription. We have a large amount of monitor jail calls. I'm sure you guys know this. 90% of that is wasted time. But for the nuggets in there, they're extremely important to our cases. So if we can condense that into transcripts, search for keywords, we're talking, instead of spending 10 hours on reviewing jail calls, we're probably spending an hour. So efficiency is a huge part of this. It gets the police back on the road faster. They're not worried about transferring data to us. It gets us, instead of worrying about all that wasted time in reviewing documents and video, it's just a tremendous time saving. Editing tools are very powerful in this software. For example, Noble County Prosecutor's Office has a full-time IT person dedicated to their office for these types of functions. We obviously don't have that, so the attorneys are largely responsible for their own reviewing, editing, those type of things. With this program, we save so much time and effort in terms of calling base, hey, software's not working, what do we need to do? Axon is basically set up to use any type of video format, most that are out there. The editing software, the transcription software is very powerful, and it's being used all across the country with very much success. I mentioned that DJ Sigler sits on the IPAC Technology Committee. Their office just transitioned to this in January because he said, well, we hope we have a solution statewide within 5 years, but we need something now. And so he went to this system. So I guess my presentation is, one, I'd like authorization to go ahead and move forward with this. The cost obviously is still high, but when you compare that to just buying the server with the tools we have that come along with it, I think the time saving is equally important to us. But if we're just buying hardware and software, we're nearly where we're at buying the system, which has unlimited storage for us. Axon seems to be the way IPAC is going, but when I talked to Axon, they assured me that if the state picks this up in 2 or 3 years, we'll basically get a refund for the rest of the contract, and then the state would basically take over the cost. I don't know if that's the way they're going to go. They said if we need to migrate this to a new system that's statewide, that's no problem either. So I was aware, I made sure they were aware that this, I don't know what IPAC's going to do statewide in terms of the solution, because something needs to happen. But they're very willing to work with us in terms of whatever that transition looks like. For the departments, the biggest department we deal with, which is not on Axon currently, would be the County Sheriff's Department. Their system will basically be one extra click for us, for them, get the data from their cloud to our cloud, so it's very user-friendly for them as well. And functionality for them will be largely the same, other than transitioning from their Motorola server to the Axon server. One of the benefits of presenting this now in terms of the cost of this is that, sure you're all aware, you increase the amount of salary I'm able to pay for the full-time deputy position that was unfilled for about a year. We currently have an intern who is finishing law school next month. We'll be sitting for the bar in July. So essentially, she's working as an extern for our office, being unpaid. She's basically handling a caseload with supervision currently, but we don't have to pay her until she graduates law school. Once she graduates, we'll pay her basically a fraction of what she'll be paid as a full-time deputy, and it doesn't look like she'll be going to the full-time deputy rate until about October. So we have a large chunk of the year where we have her salary money that's not going to be used. Susan was kind enough to give me those numbers in terms of what that unused amount of her salary will be for this year. That appears to be about $50,000. So at some point, if this is going to be approved, I'd likely come back and ask to transfer that portion of her wages to be applied toward this contract, which then obviously brings the cost substantially down. There's also a savings component. Again, I kind of look at this as our request is similar but slightly different than the public defender's request. We're dealing with a lot more entities. We're dealing with private defense attorneys. And so if you would approve ours, it's going to be slightly higher than if you approve both, because they're going to give us a discount if both entities, public defender and prosecutor, move on to the system locally. So with the full rate, it's about $87,000 for the 5-year contract. If they give us that discount, it's about $84,000 for that 5-year contract. So there is some savings by going to both. Mark can talk about reimbursement issues in terms of how the Public Defender Commission will help pay for the cost of their system as well. Basa sat in with us in the presentation in January. I'll let him talk about what he thought of it, but I did make sure to follow up with him and make sure that it looked like something that our IT department would be able to seamlessly help with as well. It seemed like that was the case. So I'll open it up to questions in terms of what your thoughts are on the move to Axon.
Brought up a couple good points here. We have a couple questions. It sounds like there's a huge amount of storage requirement needed in your offices. Is that correct?
Correct.
How long is this data saved or stored, or before it's released or freed up?
So for misdemeanor cases, it's about 5 years. When you start to get into felonies, you get a little longer. So those likely are going to be in a 10 to 20 range between the different levels of felonies. But once you get up into the higher level felonies, so things like rape, child molesting, murder, those could be basically indefinite. So past our lifetimes, likely, that data will have to be stored somewhere.
And that makes a huge difference because all other security systems rewrite after, you can set it for 60 days, 90 days, it just rewrites over top, and you lose that stuff. They're saving it for 20, 30 years.
What we started to do last year, because we were a little bit even past where our capacity is right now, and we started to go back and actually delete some of the old lower level cases so we can make room on the server. But it's just, as much as we delete, it's coming in faster than we can keep up in terms of that capacity.
This would be an IT question. Do we have the capacity right now, or is this something we would have to be adding equipment with?
Basic can talk to that, but my understanding is this is largely cloud-based, and so it won't require any new hardware from our office to go onto the system.
And you mentioned about if the state goes to a system, is this going to be obsolete and we'll be coming back for more money to talk to the state system then, or?
So, well, the answer is I can't tell you for sure because I don't know where they're going to go. To me, Axon seems to be the leader in this industry at this point. Like I said, Indiana State Police use this system. Many federal jurisdictions, many state jurisdictions use this system as well. However, if it moves to a new system, what we'd be looking at would be transferring the data from the Axon storage cloud to whatever new system we have. There would be probably a migration cost for that. I can't tell you how much that would be. But it would basically be taking all that old data and transferring it into a new storage location.
The redundancy is always an issue. What do we have currently as far as backup? Because if you're going to save this indefinitely, if something happens to that server, you need some way to back it up. Does Axion have redundancy in that respect?
I haven't asked about the redundancy. I can. I would be shocked if they don't, but I can get you a more definite answer on that. I'm sure Basic can talk about the backup system we have now. We've had to use it a few times.
Okay. And the other thing, is this only video or is this also documents also?
So this is everything. So basically what we do now, we have, obviously the police largely use Spillman, which was their online system. What happens now is we pull all the documents off of Spillman, store them in our server digitally. There's very little physical evidence that we actually have to keep now. Back in, even when I started, we'd have paper files filled with documents, whatever physical evidence. Now really the only physical evidence we keep are items of clothing or weapons or whatever is an instrumentality of the crime, which is largely stored at the police department in their evidence storage. We don't typically have to keep that. I guess the only digital evidence that I can think of that we don't store on the server would be child pornography. That's not going to ever be uploaded into any cloud. That's put on a hard drive or thumb drive or whatever capacity we need and kept in a locked container because it can't be copied for any purpose. Defense attorneys have to come to our office. We pull that out of the locked container, let them do what they need to view, and put it back. And hopefully we don't need a trial, but if we have it, like we had last summer with the Billy Burrow case, we have to have it available to be viewed at a jury trial. So everything else is stored digitally unless it's a physical item, knife, gun, whatever it would be. One I think could be potentially helpful aspect of Axon is they also allow us to post a QR code for the public to send us evidence. So if we get cell phone videos, what have you, that are relevant, they can just directly load it up to Axon so that we can view it. So it's very user-friendly. And again, it could be any type of surveillance camera. Gas stations are notorious for having weird, players, media requirements, and so we have to search out what's going to play this particular video. Axon has integrated many different source readers so that it's all right there, ready to go.
Now, this is, when we started to go to body cams and all this, this was the big issue to start with, is the storage and how expensive it was going to be. We talked about it at many of our budget sessions, and it is coming to roost.
So you're saying with the Axion, with this contract, it's unlimited storage? We don't have to worry about buying equipment and then 2 more years from now, you're coming back to us and saying that wasn't nearly big enough?
Correct. Axon is unlimited. I did put in the letter, again, I don't know how fast we're going to run out of space, but even with this new, if we go to the server solution, don't go to Axon, we will run out of space again. It's just a matter of, I think it'll probably be between 3 and 5 years. But again, if the resolutions of these videos get better, it could be faster. And again, it's just hard to know based on what we're looking at in terms of resolution for cameras being used.
So if I understand, one of the points that you made was, and if I understand it right, it's an understated savings, and that is you don't have to transfer things by file or disk or USB drives. Literally, like you can give the defender a link or something, and he can go view that. It stays on Axion. You don't have to, I mean, because that's an incredible savings, not having to download that. I mean, I just did a 12-minute video the other day. It took 25 minutes to go on my little USB drive to give to somebody.
Yeah, I may have undersold that a lot because we just deal with it. But that is a huge component of moving to the system, is the time saving for transferring this evidence, especially the videos. It's absolutely tremendous.
So it's literally just like he would just have a link and he would just be able to view it where it's already at.
If you
don't
look
have-
at this page in here, it has all of that's included, and it has all video, audio files will generate a hyperlinked, editable, and searchable transcript in under 10 minutes immediately upon ingest, whatever that means. But then it lists out everything else that is included on that.
So basically, the way it works currently with our discovery is we intake the evidence, determine if we're filing the case. If the case gets filed, obviously we file it. Then within 30 days, we have to transfer all that case data to the defense attorneys. Or it could be a pro se individual, and that could mean sending them mountains of CDs full of data. We've run into that with one particular attempted murder case where the individual is pro se. He's at the Department of Corrections. They won't allow thumb drives, hard drives, those type of things in there. So you have to download this all onto CDs and send them, and then he inevitably comes back and says they won't work. True or not? But it's a huge pain. The other thing that's really nice, obviously the hyperlink saves a tremendous amount of time, but it also has a very user-friendly log then of when it was sent, what was sent. The good thing about it too, which helps us tremendously and helps defense attorneys tremendously, is it also notifies us of new evidence coming into the case. That happens frequently. And we don't catch it right away. The police may send it, it may get put in the file, and if it doesn't get discovered right away, they may not get it. We can tell right away what was sent, when it was sent, and then if there's new evidence that came in that hasn't been sent, we go ahead and send it right away. And there's an audit log that's very user-friendly for everybody, helps out our office tremendously in terms of if there's ever a challenge to, did they receive all the evidence? Yes, you received it on this date, time, what you did, I don't.
Does it also log who logged in or who sent, so that if some person that you didn't authorize accesses the information, that's identified?
Yeah, it'll tell you what user then received the data and accessed it.
This is based on per
It is, yes. Yeah, so
user. Is that
the estimate that
FTE, full-time employee?
right. So that was a long discussion I had with Axon, because obviously part of our attorneys are part-time. Essentially, we came to basically understand it would be 12 full-time users. So there's a 10 quote, there's a 13 quote. We came to 12 as the actual number, and then the more specific quote, I think toward the back of the materials, the actual numbers that we would be using.
So it's really, even your part-time employees would still have access to the system. They don't have to be full-time.
I was blown away by the presentation. The time-saving part of it is tremendous for our office. The functionality and the tools are obviously very useful. We can get along without them, but obviously, the better tools we have, the better we can prosecute these cases.
Was this in your 5-year plan? Is it something that we've been looking at and trying to budget for? I didn't get a chance to there, but.
I know I touched upon some IT issues in there. I don't know if I ever brought up the actual Axon part of that, because again, we thought with the cost of the system, it may not make sense, but now that we're looking at the storage issue being equally problematic, it becomes more feasible with the unlimited storage.
Rick mentioned earlier on, we talked about the body cams and you know, the need for the storage because there was going to be an increase. You know, I don't think you talked about Axiom, but they did prep us a little bit on this.
Well, and this is just the kind of thing we were talking about, or I was trying to bring up with the budget as we look forward, because this is an expense that would not be in this year's budget.
Right.
And it will be, as a percentage, it'll be a couple of percent. It's not going to be zero. So we need to be able to account for this.
There's also, again, there may be some pretrial diversion we've largely used for technology expenses in our office for the last many, many years. You guys were kind enough to move some of that to the general budget this year. But pretrial diversion funds for us are kind of unpredictable too. Pretrial diversion basically is a contract with a defendant that has minimal criminal history that they are allowed to enter into a contract. They pay for that contract. At the end of that contract, it's all based upon the level of crime. So C misdemeanor, which would be the lowest level in terms of a criminal action, is a 60-day contract up to a level felony 2.5. That depends on the price, depends on the thing. Some of that money comes back to the budget also as well. So we use that pretrial diversion money to pay for things you guys require. The types of crimes that are receiving pretrial diversion are kind of shifting as the legislature shifts what they're doing. So 10 years ago, we may have had a tremendous amount of what we call bad check cases. So you write a check at Walmart, fraudulent or doesn't go through, we charge them with crime. Those were largely handled by pretrial diversion. Well, almost that. So we have low-level driving offenses that we use that money for, some low-level possession marijuana type cases. So it's still a tool we use, but it's hard for us to project anymore because of the changes in the way the system works, what that pretrial diversion money will look like. But we try to hold some of that money back as well for use for technology that maybe we don't absolutely need, but would be nice to have. Example of that would be that about a year ago or so, the Sheriff's Department came to us and said, would you split the cost of us getting the software and a laptop to be able to download cell phones immediately? The alternative to that is to send those to either the high-tech crime unit or the state police, where that takes weeks at a minimum, that data back. Working times in the case, having that data immediately is valuable. So we went ahead and used pretrial diversion money to help pay for that. And so those are the type of things we like to use that pretrial diversion for, to help local law enforcement and ourselves be more efficient, more effective.
Neil, roughly 40% of this is going to be reimbursed from the state or is reimbursable?
The public defender portion,
For the public
not for ours. Yeah. So the only thing I can say for ours is we have that extra money for the staff position, the attorney position is not being currently used. It won't be start to be paid until basically May on an hourly rate, and then October at a salary rate. And so what we estimated was there's about $50,000 in that salary that we could transfer comfortably to help pay for this in one lump sum.
For a couple of years, there's been a proposal that they set up a system much like the public defenders to use for the prosecutor's office. That is dead again for this year. where they would have reimbursed a certain percentage of the expense. So,
We're looking at two different entities, and for the public defender, we're looking around 42,000. And is there a cost on your side then too that we need to be looking at?
So if, yes, I think the answer is yes, it's two separate requests. Our office is $87,000. If the public defender also gets onto the system, that's an additional cost for whatever it is from them. There is some reimbursement money from them, from the state, and then we get a 5% discount, which lowers ours slightly. So it's more like $83,000. But yes, it's two separate requests in terms of what we're looking.
it's much like the savings we achieved when we had all of the legal departments combine their request for law books. And by putting everybody together in one account, we got a discount because the volume was bigger. So it's much like that.
So we're looking then at a total approximately, with the discount for the public defender, of around $130,000 in.
To be honest, I haven't seen the public defender's estimate. I only saw
The
ours.
public defender would be the almost 42, and then Neil's would be the 80,
7.
well, the 83
Okay.
if they come on, so whatever that is, yeah.
So, okay, that's a little bit different than the public defender. Does anybody else have any questions for Neil?
I have a question. So on the paperwork that we got here, looks like it's a maybe 5-year plan. Did they then decide to hold the rates for 5 years based on the FTE so that we know every year the invoice for this, for your office is going to be roughly $11,000? Is that what I understand?
Yes, the rates will be the same. But I will say too, that $11,000 is going to be slightly less because that was estimating that we're going to apply about $40,000 toward that initial cost. That was my rough estimate before I talked to Susan.
Okay.
So it'd be a little more money thrown at the front end of the contract. So it'll be slightly less. I think it was about $8,000-ish per year then after this year.
Essentially, at that point, you're just paying per user.
Correct.
Whatever their cost is
Right.
for them to load up.
There was the option to lock that rate in for a 10-year period, but there's so much changing that I didn't feel comfortable going out
Everything would
past.
change in
5 years was the minimum, so that's what I told them to give.
So we would be locked into this program for a total of 5 years,
5 years, correct.
even if the state decided to do something else.
But that's the one thing with Axon is they said, well, if the state does move to something else, we'll let you out. So,
And that's in the contract.
right.
5 years is a long time
Right.
in
Well,
the technology world.
to be honest, I'm hopeful that we'll, within the next 2 to 3 years, have a statewide solution that will roll out. And then if I was going to predict, they would move to Axon because that's the best system on the market right now. It's what the state police use. And it looks like that's the trend. But again, I don't know that for sure. But yeah.
Anybody else have any questions for Neil? Thanks, Neil. Good presentation.
Yeah, so mine, pretty much if you go with the state, how it would work with us, that's why I asked Base to come here. So Neil talked about the server that they'd have to, that the county would have to get for him. Well, if we just do the prosecutor, not us, then we still have the same problems that he does now. This unzipping the files, the time is unbelievable. I found that out at YouTube. Like, oh my mind. Because several of our ladies have to run their computers nonstop to get the video. And so it, Base indicated that the county would still have to have our storage for me, but this Axon is cloud-based storage for this discovery. So most of the problem video where it would be advantageous, obviously, is for us. Right now, we come by a lot of times support, even the people who aren't in some hearing, would have to continue. Currently, now all the lawyers only do the discovery, desk. So if we ended up doing this, they could go right on computer at their office, just think. And it's time saving. And like I said, the retention situation too. Right now, we're scanning in our old files. We're trying to throw away a lot of files. That would not solve the problem of video. We would still have to have that. According to what I found out is with the cloud-based system, then we're fine. We don't have to worry about that. So I just put on my cost us. I indicated ours about 70 for 10 licenses. We decided. I've asked. I know which lawyers use laptop and Discovery Bot, not private office. So I got 5 attorneys. So try to cut down. That's fair. And if you get the full back, so that comes out to about $8,000 a year. But what I don't know is this cost got to be paid up front? No? Okay. But that's why I would put it in for yearly. I thought it. So it would come down to just over $8,300 plus that 5 for the county.
All of these quotes say with tax. Do we pay tax? So you would change that, right? Would be a little less than what 7% on 80,000.
Mark, do you have anything anywhere in your budget that you specifically have looked at that said, hey, we probably have some additional funds that we could transfer around to help pay for this? Because the budget at this point, we are looking at, and I know we just went through and gave raises and benefits and all those things. And so we're kind of looking at, hey, where can we, like, we want to do this. Let me say, I want to do this, but trying to find, where do we find the funds for your office?
Right. Every year at the end of the year, I always do encumbrance with Susan. We always have some money, that we're able to throw back into the town. I can't tell you what that's going to be. I just know basically since Sands trial, I think, I probably have more in my budget. Too. He said that would, I'd have to hear. But I think that we did ask for more lodging and all that other stuff. So I'm sure we will have money, but
that's an idea that you thought, hey, there's some place in our budget that we could pull from to help cover these upfront costs this year.
I guess my question, I'm not clear, maybe it's just me. I know, Mark, we're looking at this proposal for you right now, and roughly about $42,000 after the 27%. Right. Neil, are you going to come back for a separate one then for the 87,000 for your office then, or?
That's here. This one is the 87, the prosecutor one, and the public defender one is the 41.8 after
So we're looking at, because I guess what I want to clear is we're looking at about 129,000 total for both of them?
For 5 years.
For 5 years.
For the whole 5 years. But that's not what would be paid this year.
Right, I understand that.
Okay.
But we're looking at a 5-year total then of about $130,000 on this. what you need from the council is some kind of assurance to go ahead and start pulling everything together.
Well, if you approve it, then we would, go ahead and get the started. I think we were talking about doing that.
We would want I would need the updated contracts, and then the commissioners would need to sign those, and then things could go forward.
Yeah, our paperwork shows that starting. Hey.
Contract date, we just put in as a placeholder. We didn't know when we'd be able to get in here. We weren't sure if we'd be able to pull all this together in time. Again, it's been something we've been working on since January with Axon to try to pull this together. So we just used May 1st as a date, as a projection. That can be moved if need be. I guess what I would say in terms of the total cost, again, I can't speak for the public defender costs because I haven't dug into their numbers, but if we don't go to Axon, we're going to have a $70,000 cost for hardware, plus the $1,600 per year for the software for the operating system. So we're looking at close to $78,000 for this new server, which if my projections in terms of how the evidence is coming in will probably last somewhere between 3 to 5 years. And then we're coming back at that 3 to 5 year mark, probably with a similar number. I can't imagine storage will get cheaper, although sometimes the advances in technology make things cheaper. I don't know. But I would say in terms of just our office alone, over the next 5 years, I would say we probably need to anticipate roughly $150,000 in storage costs, with the first wave being needed by the end of this year, somewhere toward the end of the year. And then sometime 3 to 5 years after that, we're going to probably need more storage capacity. In terms of,
And maybe this is a question for Besa, but if we have it all here, he's still got to come up with some kind of redundancy in case something would happen to these, and so that might even double what you're talking.
And it's still going to take 1 million hours to get one video to a usable point.
yeah, I've largely focused on the financial aspects of the storage capacity, but the time savings is a significant benefit to this from our perspective. I mean, I don't want to, that wasn't my intention to say make it easier on us, but it would make it way easier on us.
Question on Axion, though, you get this cost over 5 years, what's the 6th year? Do we have a new contract that we're paying that much again?
So again, that's one of those things where I can't tell you where they're going to go statewide, but this is a situation that every county is dealing with. And so IPAC, again, has been working on this for a couple of years at least, with no real viable solution statewide, but it's something that's going to have to be addressed at some point, whether that's by IPAC or the legislature, something, because they just keep throwing this, I guess they theoretically could just keep throwing this at the counties, but it seems much more efficient in terms of statewide system for all prosecutors go to a unified system, which is basically what we've done with PCMS, which is our case management software. And that's allowed us, once we came in and I implemented PCMS, primary case, obviously that allowed us to cut back on employees and actually purposely so that half office staff were unnecessary because of technology advances. You know, have to budget. So again, I anticipate within 5 years there's going to be a solution, but if not, we're going to be either probably looking at renewing with Axon, or if there's a better product or a better system, then.
And the fees probably go up, which is.
So right now, we could do a consensus with the council for them to proceed at bringing a contract with everything in, with the caveat that there is no guarantee the council will approve it.
The contract doesn't come to you. The monies to fund it is what council does. The contracts would be the commissioner signing the contracts. So if you guys know you're not going to back what they're presenting, then
I think it only makes sense.
it'll be Besa coming saying, I need $100,000 because I need this new server.
I think it only makes sense. I think they've presented a good case that Axion is the best way to go, and yes, I would personally vote for transferring the funds, or I assume that whatever money we can't transfer from other items in their operating budget, we'd have to take from cum cap or something like that, or general fund, but it would have to be an additional. But it's not the 80,000 is not all in once. It's a spread out over or the 100,000 spread out over a number of years, so.
Would yours be spread out over 5 years too, Neil?
So basically what my plan would be, and it's kind of a two-step plan. If you say, yes, we're on board, we think this is a good idea, my next request is then going to be to transfer money from the budget salary for that prosecuting attorney that we're currently using as an extern to help fund this entire contract, which then there is a little bit of a breakdown. It's a little actually less than what we anticipate, but I had her conservatively put in $40,000 for the first year. I think we can comfortably go to 50 with the amount of money that's set aside for that salary. So that essentially leaves then, assuming you approve both, about $33,000 over the next 4 years for our office. So divide that number by 4, whatever we get is a little under $10,000 or so for the next 4 years then. And again, we'll keep looking for ways, whether that's through pretrial diversion or moving other money that's being unused in the general fund budget to help pay for that. But that would basically be what we'd be looking at in years 2, 3, 4, and 5 would be roughly $9,000 a year for all.
So in reality, if you don't consider anything and you just take it as 5 years, so prosecutor would be $16,626.80 per year. Because of the extra money he is suggesting to just apply that $50,000 right off the top of the bat. But if you guys don't want him to do that, then it would be $16,626.80. And then Mark's would be,
8,000 plus.
what did you say? It would be whatever his is divided by.
8,400 a year.
Well, after the reimbursement. I mean, that won't be the upfront cost, but yeah.
And I think it's important to consider what Susan said earlier. If we don't go this way, there's still an expense. It's going to be a new server. It's going to be 75 to 100,000, whatever that is. And that'll probably go through IT. I don't know how that goes through, but.
Yeah, could we hear from Besa for just a minute? The IT guy would love to hear from him, just to say, hey, what do you think?
All right.
What are your thoughts?
So I was in with Neil and saw the whole presentation. I think it's a great system. For us on the IT side, I think where it's going to save us is, one, we won't have to buy them a new server maybe next year, because with Axon, they have unlimited storage. So that's, and then a second thing is we don't have to worry about backup. Because right now, with their server, we're backing up their server at a different location just so we have backup. Whereas if they moving to Axon saves us from backup is no longer responsibility of IT because it's going to be a responsibility of Axon, and they handle that. Yes.
Did you have any red flags about, hey, this could be an issue, that could be an issue moving forward over the next couple of years, or anything that you see to say, hey, that could be a topic that we have to address? Maybe these guys have covered it so well already.
No, I do not. So I just sat through the presentation twice. So, and okay. I asked questions as well, just to verify that what I was thinking was right. So I did ask her questions, and then I don't see any red flags that will stop me from recommending it. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Your expertise.
Thank you, Besa.
Yes, sir.
I just said thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, anybody else have any questions before we move along? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the process.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the process and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, I'm going to call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, just want to thank the council for a great meeting, a lot of very valid discussion and dialogue here today on a lot of topics. And on that note, Rick Collins.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.